Mike Wendy for Visual Quitter. Have I ever thought about quitting? Probably not seriously in any real way, but certainly fleeting thoughts of like, man, it's just too fucking hard, or just in a frustrating day when you've got a million things going on and you haven't had time to get to your studio in a way because any number of things, right? And so I taught in the K-12 space for over 20 years and always had a studio practice. That studio practice, would oscillate between having a lot of time, having a little time, being in a sketchbook, working on my desk in my classroom, but like I always was making. And I think if you can do that, you're probably going to be fine in the world, because that was probably as hard as it ever was for me, which was when I was a K-12 educator. And then in Murray County, I was even a pre-K through 12 across 3 campuses and was a super commuter and had a 3-hour commute every day for 3 years, and still made work. But there would be times when I'm sure I would think like, oh man, like it'd just be easier to not even think about that. But again, that wouldn't last long. It just, it's just too lodged in my brain, to the time that I get to spend that doesn't have to do with my kid, or the time that I want to and get to spend with my wife and family, or that I'm spending on serving students who am their professor or teacher. When I do get the time, there's rarely anything else I want to do other than just make and be creative. And so, but when you have all of those other things going on, it can be hard the times when I've probably thought about quitting the most are the times when I haven't had the consistency in a studio practice where the magic happens, like the iteration happens that gets you from one place to another place. Rob Matthews talked about it in his episode on this podcast of how he used to make art in one way and then now makes art in a very different way. And you have to have a consistent practice to get to that. Rob didn't make drawings one day and then wake up a day later and then just start making the big, large-scale paintings that he's making now. Like, that happened over a long period of time of consistently making work. And so, yeah, I'm sure the times when I have been like, I'm just going to quit, I don't want to do this anymore, it'd just be so much easier just to, like, what if I just took all that time and energy and just made some money and went and did this thing that people have always told me I should go do sales or go do this other thing, which I know is connecting to the next question. But yeah, that's probably when it would happen, when I didn't have the chance to be iterative and get to make and make and make. And so, but luckily I have pretty consistently made no matter what my situation is. And so I probably was working just enough, just on the edge sometimes of just enough to thing leading to another thing and leading to another thing, and keeping my curiosity open and the awareness of, like, if I ever do get a little more time, then that would open up. And, I'm now about to be 51, and in the last couple years, it's been interesting. Like, time has opened up. My kid is now in college. I'm teaching at the university, which is so much easier than teaching in a K-12 space. And so, because it allows for so much more time and actually at least a little bit values my art making practice in a way that in the K-12 space, it's just rarely valued. And so yeah, I think I've probably looked over that edge of someone. I probably have gotten really close to that edge of jumping off and going, I'm done. But I think I'm firmly in the spot that Mandy Rogers Horton and her sister talked about, where they just agreed one day to stop talking about quitting, which is one of my favorite things, is they just like, we're not talking about it anymore. And so, but I love that this podcast acknowledges that and that's a thing, and that's a real thing. And so, yeah, I would say never seriously, but certainly, like many people who I've heard on this podcast, but also in other podcasts, where you just kind of look around and go, is there anything else I'd rather be doing? Or is there anything else I'm good at? And is there anything else and for me, I do think there are other things that I would be good at. I am good at teaching. I have enough data now with students, having taught for, getting close to 25 years of kids who've, reported back, thank you for this or thank you for that. So I know I'm good at that. And so, but only doing that, like just being, for me, it's such an intertwined practice. It feels so connected. As someone who kind of thinks about myself as a social practice artist with like a traditional sculptor wing, to make an Enneagram joke, the teaching is the art and the art is the teaching, and it all gets kind of mixed up in together, and it isn't an adjacent practice. They aren't adjacent practices, I should say. They're intertwined practices. But as far as if there was something else I was going to do in high school, I went to MLK. For anyone who isn't in Nashville, from outside, MLK is a magnet high school here in town, and I was there when they were figuring it out. So I was there before there was even a graduating senior class, and but while I was there, had this big dream that has come to fruition as being this really, really good public high school. And so we'd go around the room, and teachers would ask what did we want to do, and everyone had these big ideas. I want to own my own law firm. I want to practice medicine. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be, and I knew pretty quickly, like, I've got to have something impressive to say, and I didn't have any idea in my head of what I wanted to do. That's actually not true. I knew I wanted to be a preacher or a teacher, because in church I liked seeing the folks get up and talk, and I was like, I think I could do that. And then I liked my teachers at school, but nobody at MLK was saying that. Those weren't, I guess, lofty enough ideas, or at least in my high school brain. I didn't know that I could just claim that and say, I want to be an instructor of something, right? And whether that was something in the world of faith or in the world of like K through 12 education, or college professor. I didn't know anyone who had even finished college in my family, or not a lot of people in my family had finished college, though my mom went back when I was in high school and got her nursing degree. College professor wasn't really one of those things that was on the menu, and teacher really wasn't either. And so I did know that I wanted to do that, but I never vocalized that. And so I'd made up this idea, like, I want to be a architect, because I did like drawing, and I thought architects probably get to draw a lot. My high school brain thought, well, that'd be a fun one, and people seemed to like ooh and ah. That seemed to be an acceptable, lofty career that an MLK student in the 90s would say, and people were like, oh, okay, cool. And so every chance I got to do something, I would always look at architecture. I would get to research that. And of course, I was going to the library, and I wasn't seeing the architects that I now know, like, Maya Lin, who wished I would have known about and wished I would have dived into more and seen that, as one of the most influential creators probably in American history, and the architecture stuff that she's done and how she gets to practice in that space that's between art and architecture and public intellectuals. Like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. But, so now, like, I think it would be if I got to do something else, right? If I got to reset, if I got to go back in time, I think architecture would be one of those things that would feel like the all over thinking that I think I get to do as an artist. And certainly this question is tricky for me because though I've not gotten to do a lot of different things, I've been an educator and an artist. I mean, I've worked two jobs. I've been a janitor for lots of times and cleaned lots of bathrooms for my father-in-law. When Wendy and I first got married, I had this route where I would put deodorizers in public restrooms and drove all throughout Tennessee and sometimes even into Western Kentucky. I had a route. And so I've done that work. And I've worked construction and I've done a lot of jobs. But as a teacher, having taught several thousand students, probably closer to like 2,600 students in my lifetime, and getting to talk with all of them about how art can make whatever they're interested in a richer, deeper experience, and that I believe could even make them better at being a surgeon, owning their own lawn care business, being a veterinarian, being a nurse, being a psychiatrist, whatever the thing they're interested in. I'm always curious about what they're up to. And so I've gotten to talk with lots and lots of people about careers in a way that feels really full. And so that's been this really kind of a luxury that I've had as an educator, is that you do get to spend a lot of time as a thought partner across lots of different fields that allows for me to do research and connect students to ideas they've had. I've worked down in Murray County, and we were one of the first places in Tennessee to get the Tennessee STEM and Innovation Network. We got the elementary school, middle school, and high school all certified as STEM schools, but we really pushed this idea of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, with our curriculum across a pre-K through 12 campus in rural Tennessee. And that was very fun because it made me, through my job, get to do a lot of research about pharmaceutical industry, agriculture industry. We had business partners who were in manufacturing, but also business partners who did filtration systems for some of the largest manufacturers in the world. And we got to take students to those factories in different places. And so that was really fun. And again, it wasn't what I didn't do that, but I think it helps in the knowing that I have in my bones about wanting to stay in the arts. Is I do and have gotten to look pretty closely at all of these other things that I could see myself being good at, because I'm comfortable getting up and talking in front of groups. I'm very comfortable getting to chat with people. I can chat with anyone about anything. I have this luxury as a visual artist of growing up very sporty and having been very good at sports. And so that in a corporate setting where sports gets talked about a lot, there's lots of, metaphors about sports. Like, I get them all and I like them. It doesn't bug me the way that I know that it bugs very understandably how it can bug other people. But I have that luck that I know would translate very well for me to be in a different kind of situation besides the arts. But I think that opportunity of getting to look at them so closely through the lens of students and really, really diving in for kids that I care about, and looking into ways in which they can be successful in their careers, and helping them fill out applications and writing letters of reference for all sorts of different kinds of careers and businesses for students, has been a really good lens for me. That's always a reminder for me that, like, arts is the answer for me, because I have unintentionally been constantly looking into other things, again, on behalf of students, but because I take it so seriously, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. Oh, that's kind of, and you can kind of see yourself, and then you're like, yeah. And I would miss getting to walk into a studio and either take up the thing that I left there last, knowing I need to get it to a spot of a point where it was finished, or getting to walk into a studio where there isn't an expectation and that incredible feeling of play and inventiveness and iterating so that you can then get to a thing that then has to get finished. And so, I think that this is such a great exercise to get to kind of look back on those times and really acknowledge that I do think, at least for me, that those feelings probably won't go away. They're like, I should just cut this, that in frustration, but like sitting down and realizing that that's just a kind of that a vestigial like knee-jerk reaction. And really what's happening is anytime I'm feeling that, it's just the frustration of not getting to have the time, energy, or I have not done good planning to position myself to take advantage of all at my disposal to be able to run my practice in a way that's prevents me from getting to that spot of thinking about quitting in the first place, right? So the quitting part always is, I think, that little petulant kid in you, like, I'll just quit. I'll take my ball and go home. Because I don't think I've ever had a thought of quitting that wasn't built coming from a standpoint of emotional. Like, I don't think I've had the thought of just sitting, everything going well, studio practice really humming along, and then just intellectually been like, I wonder if this is still really what I should be up to. That never seems to happen, because anytime things are going well and humming along, it's just like, how can I get more of this? How can I get more of this? How can I get more of this? How can I get more of this?